You know, SKLZ has two tremendous alignment devices, practice aids. One is the Practice Pod Pro. What I love about the SKLZ Practice Pod Pro is that it's a great visual of alignment in ball position and also shoulder alignment. And when you look at it on the ground, I'm looking at this perfect tee that's formed by the yellow rods. And what I also see, and I'll show you later for specialty shots, how I can adjust the white rod for hitting draws or hitting fades intentionally. Right now I'm setting up the workstation to be square to the target line. And when I set up, you'll notice that when I see this right now, I'm looking in a mirror that's on the ground that really helps me to see my shoulder alignment. And I gotta tell you, on the tour, Freddie Couples is over here, Bubba Watson is over here, his shoulders are square. Everybody, even those, look at Matt Kuchar's closed to the right of the target, his shoulders are square. The shoulder alignment is number one after you get your club face lined up to the target, okay? So the one thing you don't want to do, and I see this a lot, for those of you that are on the practice range hitting countless slices, I will guarantee it that when you set up to a golf ball, you're sick of seeing the ball go to the right. So you know what you do? You align your shoulders over to the left of the target, and you start to creep around to the left because you're sick of seeing the ball go to the right. Or you're gonna set up to the golf ball and you're gonna hood the club face over to the left, and you're gonna be making those compensations we're talking about. This is why being at home into a practice environment is good for you, because I've got a net, I'm gonna try to condition myself to keep a square club face in the address. I'm looking right now at the pod down on the ground, and I'm seeing that my shoulders are perfectly parallel to this line here. In terms of ball position, tremendous device to really keep a constant in your ball position. The same way goes, if you're a slicer, guarantee it, you start playing the ball forward because you're coming down steeply, and that's your impact. And that's where you like your golf ball. And what we don't want to do is get into that. So you look at this as a workstation. The ball is just slightly forward of center in the stance. That's in the right here, this yellow rod is really helping me to do that. And with a driver, certainly it's moving towards the left breast. The logo that I have right here on my left chest is where I want the driver position, and my right foot is much further away. It's a wider stance with the driver. So tremendous for alignment, critical elements to be constant with. The Pro rods are very different than the Practice Pod Pro because the Pro rods are a little bit more versatile as it relates to actually getting into swing technique. On the PGA Tour, you see most of the tour players have these in their golf bag. It's not a 15th club. It's allowed by the rule book. You can stick them in, and they use them before they play, and they use them after when we're going to practice to get ready for a big tournament. I suggest you do the same. Also, when I work on my body motion, I can use the Pro rods. First of all, I'm going to create this little workstation that looks like a railroad track. One is here on the outside. I have a ball on the inside slightly here, and I've got this. Now, this is a body line. I take a look, when I get into my setup, I want to make sure that my feet, knees, hips, shoulders, and my eyes are parallel. And if this line, obviously I said earlier that you got Freddie Couples is over here, but his shoulders are square and he still delivers the club the way that you should through the impact. But for you, I really want you to keep this in mind, is keep the parallels in check here. And what I love to do is there's so many uses here. One, if I'm gonna set up to it like this, ball position you can see I've got on the center yellow line here of the SKLZ Pro rod. And if I go back, I'm gonna check this first. I can either take this or a club, but I like to take this third extra rod, stick it on my shoulders to check the shoulder alignment. If I'm pointing over to the right, you'll see it very noticeably. To the left, you'll see this very noticeably as well. So I want to keep this square. Sometimes you put it on your hips, sometimes you put it on your knees. Make sure you're parallel, okay? The other thing is, I may put this on the ground, and I'm going to put it right at about my toe line, and this is a great device for working on takeaway. When I swing the club back, I want to use my chest and my arms and swing the club back, and you'll notice that the club is parallel to the ground and parallel to the target line. From here, my wrist cock, I make my turn. Now on the way down, I want to kind of feel like I'm duplicating that move as I go into the impact, and keep things moving. Don't be a static position player. The golf swing is a motion, so move your feet, move the club, get into your waggle, into this practice station, work on this and come back to impact. Work on this, come back to impact. If you're a slicer, we know we're coming down out here and into the ball. If we hook too much, your club is traveling this way too much and your hands are overreacting. So remember, when you're setting up the pro rods, make sure that this outside pro rod is pointing to your specific target. Give yourself a little room with the golf ball so that you can swing without hitting it. Now, one of the great things about the pro rod, and I'll get into it when we're making golf swings, that this really creates an alley for me visually that I want to swing along. The golf swing is not a straight line, it's an arc, but I'll get into that when we talk about swing. This is your body line. Use this for your parallel. Make sure that this is parallel. You're set up in a beautiful workstation. And this is the workstation when you go on a PGA Tour, everyone's using this. So I want you to use it too.